All right, welcome back. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night comes from the Penguins, reminding you that when it comes to fighting cancer, we're on the same team. It's Hockey Fights Cancer Night tomorrow night at PPG Paints Arena. Toronto comes to town. They beat Toronto the other night. I thought, Chris, probably their best game of the year on the road, especially, and then they lost to Montreal. So they need to get back on their winning schneid, and they'll be home to do it. I want to also get back to the Steelers and ask you about Kenny Pickett, because I thought it was a very efficient performance by him, especially in the second half. I thought the first half was pretty much up and down. There were some things I didn't like about it, but overall, I mean, for a young kid in his rookie season, to go through that game, not make a mistake, engineer a couple of drives late, make some good throws when he had to. He missed some guys, but most quarterbacks do on the course of a game. It's the kind of game I would expect from a rookie. It's not the kind of game I would expect from Kenny Pickett a year from now. Your thoughts?
I mean, I would hope it's the kind of game you wouldn't expect from Kenny Pickett even 3 or 4 weeks from now. If a C grade is average, and we've all warped our minds so much that when you grade someone in like sports talk land as a C, like if somebody said Chris Mueller is a C graded host, I would actually be bitterly disappointed. But that's average. I give it a C plus grade though. I thought he was slightly above average. I don't think that it's very encouraging right now, Bob, that he seems to like to he bails from clean pockets. Like those pockets were not as bad as they looked. He was bailing out. He was doing that spin move to the left where he kind of turns his back on the play. I thought he missed a lot of throws, especially in the first half. I thought he looked skittish. I thought in the second half, obviously the throw to Johnson down the sideline, he made his best throw. But the thing that I'll isolate on here, because you could say so much about his performance and analyze it so many different ways, when he gets down into the red zone, and I think this is at least partly a Matt Canada problem, but it's your quarterback too. Think of all the times he just continues to have to tuck it and run or throw a little swing pass to the sideline and hope a guy makes a play like Warren did for him at one point. That's when the field condenses and you've got to be at your decisive best as a quarterback. And so far, their lack of ability to really punch the ball in traditional ways, a 10-yard pass, 12-yard pass, it's a little worrisome, maybe a lot worrisome for me. I want to see some processing from him that happens quicker and more decisive throws as a result.
Yeah, I think their longest touchdown pass is, what, 8 or 9 yards? That's it?
So the longest touchdown period, I think, is still 8 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, that's insane. It is.
I mean, at some point you have to see the quarterback get in there and throw a 300-yard game and go down the field and make plays. I get that. But I think yesterday, given what they were dealing with in terms of a much-needed win, they took care of business. So from that point of view, they got it done. Next up is the Bengals. We'll talk more about them in a second. Right now, let's go to the lines. Chris, we have Josiah, our #1 Cochrane Go One Better call of the night tonight. He joins us in San Antonio, one of our favorite callers. What's up, Josiah?
Hey, Bob. Hey, Chris. And I also want to say prayers for Stan. I didn't know that he was battling lung cancer, so prayers to him, too.
Yeah, he's a brave battler, I'll tell you that. He is.
Real quick on the game yesterday, I missed the old days of like Willie Parker where you had a solid run game. And I know yesterday you see Najee Harris actually kind of give you something, but I still don't trust the run game as a whole. And then secondly, on the defensive side, Bob, could you tell me, Devin Bush is kind of hard to read. Is Brian Flores actually getting him better, or is he still the same? Because it's kind of hard to read with Devin Bush.
Yeah, I just look at stat lines sometimes and I come away scratching my head. Like yesterday, Spillane has to play because they chose not to use Miles Jack. You would think Bush would be the guy who, be called upon to do much more, and he really wasn't. Now, some will tell you, Chris, that he's playing better than he has, and maybe that's true, but from a 10th overall pick, I would expect a lot more. Spillane's a guy with the dot. Spillane's a guy going back in coverage. I expected Bush to be that guy by now.
Well, I think Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt both praised Spillane for his communication abilities. That doesn't say much for Devin Bush's. I will say I tried to watch, bizarrely enough, Josiah asked about Devin Bush. I tried to watch him and isolate on him on a couple of snaps. They do send him back in coverage, though. I mean, he is trying to guard tight ends, and he is trying to stick with a wide receiver occasionally. And I think he does a little bit better of a job of that. But bottom line is, and, I'm not questioning a guy's toughness at all here because anybody that's in the NFL is inherently insanely tough. But he just doesn't seem to want to play downhill and get ultra physical on a regular basis. And that's noticeable because he's playing linebacker. And even if he's playing a coverage linebacker position, I don't know about you, Bob, I expect that to be kind of where the macho guys reside who are willing to stick their nose in there and really kind of make it ugly physically when they have to. Yeah. He doesn't seem to be wired that way.
No, not at all. And by now you'd expect that. The fact that they didn't give him a fifth-year option tells you, I think, ultimately what they think, but they're hoping he can put it together. And so far, I don't know, he's been better, but he hasn't been enough for me. Let's also talk about the defense and the importance of T.J. Watt, because we all know how valuable he is. But, man, it is pretty telling when he gets in there and the effect he has on other people. And we saw that yesterday. He didn't necessarily have a, T.J. Watt standard type of game, but what he did was make it possible. And to me, there's a lot to be said for Alex Highsmith has 5 of his 8.5 sacks in the 2 games Watt has played. That's the kind of impact he has.
I mean, the testament to Watt's greatness is twofold. It's the numbers he puts up on his own, and it's what Bud Dupree previously and now Alex Highsmith are able to do when he's out there. I mean, I kind of backed away from the idea of, man, is TJ Watt really this impactful, makes this much of a difference on a team, not just a defense, but a team, because it just seems so far-fetched in such a quarterback-driven league. But he's a top 3 defensive player in the entire NFL. I think he, Parsons, and Aaron Donald are the 3 best. He clearly does make that level of an impact. My only caveat would be the Saints aren't very good. Andy Dalton's not very good, but we've seen him do it to the defending AFC champs as well. They are a different football team when he is out there, even when Micah Fitzpatrick doesn't play. It was striking to behold yesterday. It really was. All
right, now the Bengals come to town. I don't know how you look at this game, but to me, they have 4 division games left. On the surface, you may say 1-3 against those teams might be what you'd expect, but for them, they have to go 3-1 minimum, I think, against the teams in their own division, given where they are right now at 3-6. And it starts with Cincinnati. They've had problems. They don't have Jamar Chase. Do you think this is a game that they can? The line I see is only like 4.5 points, which surprises me. So maybe
Well, I think that
oddsters think they're going to sneak up and play well.
I think that. Bob, I think that line sort of suggests that Vegas understands that Jamar Chase is hugely impactful for that Bengals offense, and that it just makes – it's kind of the same effect Watt has on the Steelers' defense. When you have 2 very good wide receivers, that's one thing, but you can cover those guys. When you have 3, though, it really becomes an onerous task for an opposing defense. They have to run the ball even close to what they did against the Saints to have a chance, though. I think they have to play keep away because I do think Joe Burrow – unless Watt just plays out of his mind, I think it's going to be tough for the Steelers to hold up defensively because Joe Burrow is very much not Andy Dalton. And even with just Boyd and Higgins and Joe Mixon, I mean, that's a more talented offense by a lot. So I think the line is curious here, but I think this is a game that the Steelers, I'd be very surprised, even on their home turf, if they actually got the win. And I think they'd have to go 4-0. But really quickly here, Bob, I'm still not even close to thinking about the playoffs. I mean, this team was the 3rd pick in the draft before they won that game yesterday. I think people have to reset their expectations because what's best for them is probably a pick in that 5-7 range, not an 8-9 or 9-8 season.
Well, right now you went from 3 to 10. I think that's where they are in the draft order because of 1 win. That's how it goes. It's interesting to me that Chicago keeps getting these ridiculous performances from their ground games led by Justin Fields, and they keep losing. No matter what they do, they lose. And Detroit beat them yesterday, and that helps the Steelers out. I think that pick moves now to 37, if my math is correct. So
well, the Packers winning, also the Packers rallying from 2 touchdowns down, if you believe that the Packers were the other team that wanted Chase Claypool and were willing to offer their 2nd-round pick. Them coming back and somehow beating the Cowboys like they did also helps the Steelers a lot. Justin Fields, by the way, is a complete – just a freak, man. I mean, he is quickly rocketed to the top of the list. I don't know about you. Sometimes, Bob, you and I talk about the NFL and sports at large. I think that guy is quite literally number 1 in the league for appointment viewing right now, which is saying something because in like week 3, I got angry watching the Bears because they were wasting him.
Yeah, I agree. You never know what he's going to do. And he's had multiple 60-yard runs. And he's doing it with his – although yesterday he threw a terrible pick that was returned for a touchdown. And it was a big play in that game. But still, he's doing it pretty much by himself. It's interesting to note that Chase Claypool only had 1 catch again. So that's 3 for 21 yards in 2 games. And I think they probably expected more than that from him. But that's not what it is so far.
Where have we seen that kind of performance before? Yeah, Chase Claypool's the guy who believes Chase Claypool's a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Maybe he should try the CFL next. He might be top 10 over there.
We're due for a break. We'll take it right now. Back after this. You're watching the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call here nightly, 7 nights a week.